Good night, America. It's time for the Richard Fowler pre-show. How are you guys doing on this fine evening? We're talking about Baltimore one more time, America. Yes, indeed, it is true. One more time, indeed. But now here's the thing. So the so-called Baltimore Six, or the 6 officers that are responsible for the death of Freddie Gray, according to The Guardian, these officers have very, very questionable history when it comes to abuse of their authority. Now, overall, the city of Baltimore has a questionable history when it comes to its abuse of an authority. The Baltimore Sun also reported, well, before that, the city of Baltimore spent $5.7 million, yes, count them, $5.7 million settling lawsuits connected to allegations of abuse by its police department. The Baltimore Sun has also reported that many of the vans in the Baltimore region aren't equipped with seatbelts. So these are the paddy wagons that they put people in. They put Freddie Gray in one of these paddy wagons. They're not equipped with seatbelts, right? And which opens them up to, speculations of this sort of rough ride thing they talk about. So there's so many different pieces to this case, America, that should really cause pause for anybody who's a Constitution-loving American, right? So when you think about the Gray case, and you think about the fact now all these individuals they're all under some sort of possible, they're all being charged with possible crimes. You have to ask yourself this question. How did we get here? What went wrong when it comes to talking between the police department and the Baltimore community? But beyond that, I want to talk about 8 troubling revelations about these individual officers that are being charged. Troubling revelation number 1. The most senior officer charged in the Gray death demanded the arrest of his girlfriend's husband who lived in a nearby town. So this is Officer Brian Rice, right? So his ex-girlfriend, he demanded that her husband be arrested just because he was a police officer, and guess what? He could do it. According to court records, and he said, heads will roll if something happens to her or the children if you do not go and arrest him. So basically, he used his power to, in a nutshell, threaten and bully his ex-girlfriend's husband. Number 2, the city of Baltimore, like I said already, spent $5.7 million settling cases of alleged police brutality starting back from 2011. So in a 4-year time period, in 4 years, that means Baltimore spent over $1 million a year settling police abuses against its citizens. America, where there's smoke, there's fire. Right? And the fact that all these cases got settled out of court should tell you something. Right? It's so bad that they're like, ooh, we just want to pay to get rid of it. Like I told you, the police, the vans don't have seatbelts. Number 4, nearly 2,600 suspects have been turned away from Baltimore City jails because they were too injured to be admitted. Yes, indeed, America. So that's like, think about that. 2,600 suspects, people arrested under the custody of police, were turned away from the city's jails because they did not meet the bare basics standard of health to go into the prison because they've been beaten so badly on their arrival to the jail that they'd be sent directly to the hospital. Right? Moving on. Now, Martin OMalley should also have some explaining to do here because his record as mayor, during his time as mayor, they were hyper aggressive to the residents of Baltimore, right? When he was mayor, it was 1996 to 2006, the crime rate in Baltimore dropped 16%, while arrests rose dramatically. Something his critics say is because he had this heavy-handed, zero-tolerance, policy when it comes to policing. And that zero-tolerance policy means that's how you get the stop and frisk, that's how you get the broken windows theory, that's how you get to just going on the street and randomly finding a black guy and, bullying him, is what these police are doing. Right? It's really sick. Number 7, as you already know, the Department of Justice, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, has opened up an investigation into practices and procedures of the city of Baltimore, which should really, 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 really scare folks at home. Right? It should really scare them. Because the Justice Department is saying, just like it did in Ferguson, that there might be some problems and practices in the patterns of these police officers. And number 8, 2 city correctional officers were charged with looting during the civil unrest. So, here's the thing. So people like to make it seem as though there's this, there's this breakdown. And the breakdown is caused because of the community. So it's the police, the police can do no wrong. Law enforcement does no wrong. Like, I've debated this numerous times before. So it's law enforcement does nothing wrong. They're perfect. They're great. They're grand. But the people are the problem. Well, if 2 of the correctional officers were charged with looting America, it seems as though law enforcement might be the problem here.